if you want to solve problems within humans, you really have to be able to listen to them. And listening is not only open up your ears and listening to their words and their message. You need to have a state of mind in order to connect with that person, with no judgment, with no anything attached towards you, because you need to be open for what the message, whether that is conscious or unconscious, that you can receive that way. And this is not an easy thing to do in many ways. And in order to grasp this type of concept, I made this video, and it's more so you can say it's an advanced way and to adopt a state of mind in order to listen to players, your team, your staff, and all the people involved in your organization and around you in your life. That makes listening and also solutions or possible solutions for them a lot easier and a lot more successful. But remind you, this is an advanced and a little bit abstract. So if that is too complicated for you, this video isn't for you. And if you like abstract ideas and more, let's say, the conceptual thinking of how to adopt a mindset in order to get the best out of yourself and the people around you, then stick around, because this video is for you to become a great listener. So be sure to grab your pen and a piece of paper, and let's get into it. What is up, guys? My name is Donnie from nextlevel.esports.com, the #1 platform for esports coaches and team development, to help you and your team reach that next level by getting the people side of esports right. So by now, you already checked a couple of descriptions, of course, and there you will find the Discord link to join the Next Level Esports Discord channel, where I'll be hosting weekly free events, lectures, podcasts, video material just like this. So you have it all collected together in a video library where you can network and introduce yourself to hundreds of other esports coaches to bring value to you, or where you can interchange perspectives on or share tools or ways to become a better coach, a better player, or a better human being overall, just to reach that next level that is your level. So also, if you like this type of content, be sure to smash the like button. And if you love this type of content, be sure to hit the subscribe button as well as the notification bell, so I will update you with the newest type of content. So now let's make you a great listener. So before we deep dive into how to become a great listener, let's take a look at the overview. The 4 pillars to become a great listener. So the first one is to be benevolent - warm-hearted. So I use warm-hearted because benevolent sounds like more, at least the first time I saw that word, it was more like negatively associated one way, because I'm not a native English speaker. So it sounded more like violent, and warm-hearted is something that we all can, I think, more associate to them to be benevolent. So I make it more accessible for you guys. So I will use warm-hearted instead of benevolent in this video. So the second one is to be individualized. So every person is different, although we share a lot of same characteristics, same skin color, same language, same, let's say we have a head, 2 eyes, 2 hands, although might of you would say that some players don't even have hands, but that is just an inside joke, so don't flame me for that. But every person is different and should be individualized and be treated different. So the things that you've done with many other people are not 100% waterproof that it will work for this individual. So be sure to connect with the individual and then provide value through that connection, and not your bias or judgment, or that you know something about this person because you had this experience, because that is an easy thing to do, and sometimes it's easy to shortcut things. But if you really want to be a great listener and you have the time, you have to be very individualized. So the third point is to have confidence that if you are listening to someone, that you have no doubt in your mind and in your whole body that you can provide some value, that you can help in, and that you can really listen and connect with him without judgment. So no doubt in your mind and body, your full body, that you're fully congruent with you and your connection with the person that is in front of you. So that is really important. And the fourth one is the put the mindset before action. So even though you've listened a little bit towards, let's say, a player or staff member or anyone in your environment that you have in front, oftentimes we are solution based and we want to go instantly towards the action or the solution, but oftentimes the person mindset or their state of being is not in that phase yet. They need the time to adapt, they need the information to sink in. So you want to have the right mindset and the state of mind and state of being first covered before you go into action. So put mindset before action, and I will explain later in this video on this fourth pillar how you can do that and how it all works. So these are the 4 pillars to become a great listener. So now let's deep dive into the first pillar. So the first pillar is be benevolent or warm-hearted, as I call it, to make it more easy. So it is just a state of mind, be warm. If you really truly love someone, or that you care about a person, or that you're making connection to, even though, let's say you are a new coach and you have a new team, still you don't really know what the person is like, that doesn't really matter. Just like be warm-hearted towards that individual. Try to give him love and have the intention to be helpful, to be warm, to be there for him in the moment without any expectation or anything that you have to do something. Just have your attention of love towards him. And it sounds like very big, and I need to exaggerate a little bit so you can, let's say, feel a little bit, or maybe emphasize with my wordings or sympathize with what I say and understand how that will look like and how you would behave in that specific state of mind or state of being to project just love. And there's in the second one, there says no affectivity, but a lot of love. So oftentimes we are, let's say, in a relationship and we feel like, oh, we need to be affective. We need to, let's say, touch them, and we have to feel each other's feelings. So this is a little bit interesting, but because if you are affected or get affected by someone else's emotions or problems, they are within you right now. But those problems and emotions don't belong to you. They belong to the person that you're trying to solve or talking to. They belong to that person, that individual. So you want to embrace it with love as well as his or her problems, but you don't want to get affected by it. It's like you get it really close, but you don't absorb it. Because if you absorb it, it will blur your vision or blur your connection with the person to really observe what he is saying and what he is doing. So be loving and really see the big picture of the person and really connect with them without being affected by positive emotions, negative emotions. Just observe and see how you can be of use and be a great listener. So the third one is, if you are benevolent or warm-hearted, is to do not harm. And this can mean different ways. It can be, let's say, two-sided. So you can harm someone if you're acting upon something that you want to solve it for him, for example, because if you are affected and you want to do it for him instead of letting him solve and struggle and grapple with his own problems. So then you can, even though you think you might be helping, by helping you can do him harm. So be sure and be really thoughtful and be, let's say, sensitive if you feel like, okay, can this harm this person that is in front of me? And also be very cautious that if you don't do anything, even though you have, let's say, unconscious thoughts coming up, that without doing anything, being passive, you can also harm someone. And that is contradictory, and it really doesn't make a clear answer, but it's something to think about for yourself and to adopt that state of mind and a state of being for yourself to understand, like, okay, I don't want to harm, but what would be the best way? What is the most warm-hearted way that I could provide for this person without harming them? So that is something to think about and to have this at least in the back of your mind to always bring to the table when you want to be a great listener. So when you're talking with players or people that you're having these conversations and you want to be a great listener, oftentimes because we don't have the time or something is stressing us or we are affected by something, we tend to judge, like comments, words, or anything like under the horizon. We are humans and we try to shortcut things and make it simple and just want to judge. But if, let's say, a player comes to you or your teammate and they complain about, let's say, another player or the coach or about you or about the weather or about the organization or about the competition and blah, 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 all these different types of things. If you want to be a great listener, don't judge, because every, let's say, complaint and every problem has a reason for that person. It belongs to that person. And if you want to understand how you can help him and really want to dig down and really solve this issue within the environment or perhaps between you and this person, you want to be open and listen to him and just embrace the things, what he is saying, even the complaints. Even though you might have an urge to react to it, stay benevolent, stay warm-hearted, and just embrace everything and welcome everything what comes to you. And this is not always easy, because sometimes players can be really emotional. And how are you reacting as a coach or as a manager or as a teammate towards the situation? Oftentimes we go into defense and like our neck hair start to rise up, just like the animals with the cat, like, or we getting too excited with them and we are blurred because of that as well. We cannot look objectively about the situation and how to stay connected with the teammates or the team in general, this specific individual. So don't judge, just be open and welcome and accept everything in the moment for what it is and let it just go. And this is not easy to do. That's why I said in the beginning of the introduction, like, this is an advanced way, it's a mindset to adopt. But if you want to become a great listener, this is something to train and something to be aware of. It's a state of mind to be a great listener. It's not a skill, but it's a skill to have this state of mind, but not like, it's not like, oh, first I say this, or it's not a method or anything. It's a state of mind and it can go any way, any direction. And that is to be a great listener. So what it boils down to, you want to be open and not judging. Embrace it with love. So that is the first pillar, to be benevolent and warm-hearted. So if you guys got any more questions about this or want to have more clarification, just comment down below or join the Discord and send me a message there. And we'll talk about it and I can explain more if things need more explanation for you. The second pillar to become a great listener is to be individualized. So it might be a little bit different than you might expect, but I will explain it bit by bit. So grab your pen and write along with me. So the first thing to break the be individualized down is avoid putting yourself in the other person's shoes. Don't take their place. Recognize your place. When someone is emotional, whether that is a positive emotion or negative emotion, then oftentimes we want to emphasize with them and see why they are feeling that way from their perspective so we understand it. And that is a basic human reaction. But if you want to help them and really be a good listener, it doesn't really help us. And let me explain you why. Because let's say someone is very enthusiastic about that moment in time that he just won a game or whatever, you can be happy as well because you are happy. But maybe one player isn't happy because he still felt he could have performed better. Then you don't want to be affected by that emotion, and don't, let's say, put you in their shoes, because you don't really see the full perspective of how he's feeling. And if you try to move yourself into his or her shoes, you see it from a different perspective than the person is seeing. So you cannot objectively see how the person reacts or what is important to them. So you, let's say, narrow down the possibilities, what is going on in a person, because you are more prone to make judgment about a person. So you want to first recognize your own place. And this is, let's say, the core of this first sentence. Recognize where you are. So it doesn't really matter if someone is, let's say, sad or super hyped or energetic. Recognize where you are as a coach, as a player, as a teammate, as a manager, as a human being. How am I feeling at this moment? Am I capable to have this conversation? Am I in an objective or great listener mindset? Am I in the right state? How am I feeling? Where am I? Am I able to connect with this person? Am I tired? Am I sleepy? Because if you know where you are, you know what your limits are and what you can handle in a conversation. And if you are conscious about where you are, the conversation is so much more effective in terms of success and outcome, because you can regulate your own thing and you can communicate how you feel and what you perceive from out yourself. As well as if you are in a great listener mode and the conversation is neutral, but if you're listening, unconscious thoughts pop up. Sometimes solutions, sometimes it's just blah blah, just noise. But sometimes there's also an emotion popping up. And sometimes it's good to share that emotion. And it's not like the conversation is emotional, but there's an emotion coming up that you have a sense for something. And if you stay close to where you are, then it's much more easy and open for the other person to connect to express how you feel in that moment and how it affects you or what you are thinking. So you can have an open conversation, and then the other person in front of you also recognize, let's say, that you're having thoughts that pop up and that you want to think with them, and providing them, let's say, not answers, but helping them to solve what they want to do, whether that is going for happiness or going for solving that sadness or whatever that may be. Recognize where you as a person are, because that is way more effective than putting yourself in other one's shoes and try to see it from their perspective, because you cannot see it from their perspective, not as they do. Maybe 50%, 90% in some cases, but it's really difficult to say, I know what the person really is going through. Although we might connect, of course, yes. If a kid is falling from his bike and he's falling on his knee and he's crying his tears out, of course you can emphasize with him, but that is different. You need speed as well to solve that issue. But if you have time, you have no judgment, no expectations, you take the time to really sit down, listen to, and exchange whatever pops up and wherever that direction of the conversation is going. So the second one is to have no empathy in that regard, because what I was just saying, if you try to put it in his or her shoes, you're not seeing how you are perceiving yourself. You're taking a perspective that is not yours, so it's even more difficult to really get down to what you mean. You can summarize, of course, when you're listening, like, oh, this is what I feel, this is what I hear, is this how you meant it, or at least a direction too, so you can stay aligned, etc. But even then, don't have expectations of that what you saw and said of the person will be still the same thing. And that is where it gets complex and a bit of mind-boggling and a lot of abstractness. But it's a state of mind, and you have to practice with this in order to, let's say, experience it and feel it to be a great listener. And you have to learn to adopt this state of mind. So if you have no empathy in that regard, because you embrace it with your benevolence, with your warm heart, and it gets close to you, but you don't absorb it. It's basically almost the same thing. So you can listen and view the person for what is going on, and also see what the other person is expressing with all those little muscles if you're online through a webcam, or the way that person is speaking, or the intuition or sensing things that kick in, that you get a sense that something is going on. Those are the things that you will pick up if you are in a great listener mode, not when you are in someone else's perspective, because you're within them, not within you. So ground yourself. So whether the conversation, whether it's going positive or negatively, and you want to be a great listener, then never deny something what the other is experiencing. So whether that is, oh, he's so happy about his game, and even though you feel like, oh, he played terrible, like, what do you mean? Maybe that is your first judgment. That is your judgment, and that belongs to you. But if that person is really happy and you want to be a great listener, experience it. Why does he feel that he played a great game? Maybe there's a lot more going on than the I and you know about. So try to understand it. Just open up and listen, and then see what kind of beautiful things out of this conversation and just adopting this listener mindset brings you. So also, if they have bad emotions, bad thoughts, like, don't deny that they shouldn't feel that way, or, oh, you shouldn't feel bad, or, hey, you should feel happy, because you did this and this and this. They are feeling bad. Why would you, let's say, judge them to, like, oh, you are not allowed to feel happy, or you're not allowed to feel bad? And this is one of the first things that we try to humans do, because we don't like to see others in pain, because we're, let's say, creatures of feeling, and we can emphasize, and that's why this can be a really difficult skill to adapt to. So if you deny someone that is feeling happy, or like, oh, you shouldn't be happy because you played bad, or yeah, I understand that you're happy, but you could improve on this particular phase inside the game, that can really break the mood and breaks up the connection and the bond between you and your player, or your teammate, or whatever, the person what is in front of you. So be really cautious about what you say and how you act. So don't deny what someone else is experiencing. So that correlates with agree not to know. Be so open, be so individualized that every person that you meet is basically, quote unquote, basically the first person that you ever seen with this kind of experience. So you be very, very receptive for what he's going through and what he's experiencing, and accept the blind. Accept that you don't know anything, and do not know for the other how they should behave, how they should solve it, because we, especially coaches and managers, want to give advice, and we want to help them, and sometimes you must, in order to, let's say, take a shortcut because you need a solution right now. But if you have time, and if you have the skill, let's say, under control, it's much more easier to reach that person. And the more the person feels connected with you, the more success you can have, and the faster these types of processes go. And as well, too, in terms of bonding, there was Olympic research done, and they did research towards athletes in the Olympic Games that had the best success. And the number one factor was the connection that the athletes had between the players and the coach, or the players and the coaches, or the coach towards the players. So if you want to be a great coach, you have to be a great listener. You have to understand what they're going through. You have to allow them to have their experiences, their feelings and everything, and don't deny what they are feeling and what they are about, because you're talking through them, to their soul, if you have this type of mindset, and you can really get close to them but not get affected by them, and see what kind of beautiful things that happen as well in your bonding with that player, or team, but also with the performance after building up this connection. So what it all boils down to be individualized, is if you think you know, you don't know how to think. So don't assume things, don't judge things. If you think you know, you don't know how to think. So be individualized, see the person for what he is and don't judge, be open, be warm-hearted, and then you can become a great listener. The third pillar to become a great listener is to be confident. Have confidence. So have no doubt in your mind that you can help them. Trust the person that you help even more than yourself. So if they say they found, let's say, 10 minutes in, 7 minutes in, or 53.5 minutes into the conversation, and they pop up like and are like, I found the solution, I believe I have to do this, or yeah, I think we need more time to dig this through, even though you might feel like, oh, we're this close, or I think differently. Help that person by trusting him. Trust that person more than you do yourself. Don't trust your thoughts, because if you think you know, you don't know how to think. And people and individuals really have great body intelligence. A lot of athletes, individuals, just human beings, know what is right for them. And you cannot see everything that is inside their mind, the context, the complexity of it all. So if they come up with something, and you got to help them with trusting them first. Trust them more than you do, so you can connect with them and instill and build up their confidence and go their way instead of your way, what you think is right. It can take a little bit of time, but if you want to be a great listener, these are some things to look out for. So the second one is to be aware of the conscious intelligence at work. So that's what I talked about just now. Like, the body has an internal intelligence. When you've learned something, like, the body is so ingenious, every little macro thing or action that we do, and at the same time communicating, it's not conscious. A lot of, like 98% of the things that we do are happening unconsciously from the inside. So be aware that you cannot see everything on the surface of looking at someone's emotions or expressions or the words that he or she is saying. Be conscious and be aware that there's 98% of his body intelligence working throughout from the inside. And even though he is not thinking consciously those thoughts, because sometimes if you have a great listener mode, you're just sitting there focusing on a person, and then all of a sudden from your unconscious, a solution or a great comment pops up that really can strike that person's soul and really help him propel forward. So you have this body intelligence as well, and believe that it is there, and also be aware that it is there, because the body and the mind work in meticulous ways. So embrace that as well. So a thing is, a quote or a small story is, Death Valley is not dead, it's waiting for rain. So there's a story about the Death Valley. There's no rain, only once every 100 years, and it's called Death Valley because it's dead, nothing is growing in there. But it's not Death Valley because it's just waiting for rain, because there was once in 100 years there was rain, and then the day after, whole the Death Valley was blossoming with green, etc., because they had water. So the Death Valley was not dead, it was just waiting for rain. And sometimes if you're working with athletes or people in your environment and you want to become a great listener, then even though it seems like, oh, they are dead, they are done, they are gone, sometimes they just need, in a once in 100 years, that right amount of water at this specific spot. It's not over, it's not done. It can grow, and also it can flourish. So be aware and try to feel it, and have no doubt that it will pop up somewhere to provide value and an access towards development. So also within conversations, if you have confidence, like, don't try to fight yourself or resist yourself if you want to say something, or should I say something if you've thought about it like a couple of times, or that someone is being a little bit more resistant about something that you said, and that is all okay. Respect resistance. Never fight for anything, because you don't want to try to solve a problem by trying to remove it. Oh, that player's playing bad for a couple of games, we need to remove it. Listen to the player. Be a great listener. See what you can do. See if you can connect something, and don't have any expectations that you will solve it, because sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. We don't know. You have to find out, and you can only find out if you're truly open, being benevolent, being individualized, and have confidence as well. So you need to have this, let's say, adoption of the body and mind. So there's also, let's say, you can view it metaphorically, be, let's say, a childbirth assistant and not an exorcist. So if your childbirth assistant, it goes with love, and you try to solve it in the best way, and don't try to, let's say, force anything. If the baby comes out and you just want to do your job as well as possible. Even though a lot of you guys are watching this, a lot of you are men, so it's a bit of a strange, but it's a good metaphor, so bear with me. So you try to get the child out with love. You're not an exorcist, right? So the child is neither good or bad. We believe that every child, let's say, is born good. You're not an exorcist, and if it's a little bit of resistance and struggle, you don't try to pull it out. No, you do it with love. Same goes for problems or obstacles or mental blocks in the human system. You want to help them with caring, love, etc. So don't try to resist, or don't try to fight, but respect resistance and see what is happening there, and see how you can evolve and move the conversation further towards a possible solution or what feels right in that moment. So what I've also said before is have confidence that for every problem there is a reason. So try to go down deep, but also be wary. Sometimes we're dealing with players that have, let's say, a personal baggage about depression, etc., or maybe suicidal thoughts, or really dark thoughts in general. You can, let's say, talk with them, but if you feel like, and also be conscious that if it goes beyond your skill set, there must be a reason for that behavior, etc., but also take them to, or advise them to go to psychologists, etc., to really help them. If that is, let's say, the next thing that you can say, but it's up to them if they want to do that, yes or no. You can, let's say it. If that is with love and care, etc., maybe you can help them if the timing is right, but depends on the context and the person, of course. So, but have confidence that every problem has a reason. So if there's a problem within the team, let's say communication or play style, or just like 2 players or 3 players just don't really seem to connect, that there is a reason for it. And if you adopt a great listener mindset and a great state of mind in order to open up for that, you will find solutions, and be confident that there is a problem and also something what you can do in order to gain insight to it, so you can help evolve the situation towards a positive. So, and oftentimes these reasons are unconscious, things that we just feel like also a bit of spiritual, with energy fields, etc. But it is true, it is there that we sense things. Just like when you walk into a room, you sense that there's a happy emotional state within a room, or it's dark. We all have been to that friend's place or whatever, that you feel like, oh, I get kind of chills, like I don't feel comfortable. I don't know why, there's no reason to, but you just feel it. It's about this. A lot of reasons of problems that are unconscious and you don't know what, but you have to start with just like expressing yourself, just like be open, connect with, and then try to give words to understand, open up, and grapple a little bit with the issue, and then try to evolve it towards the next level so you can start maybe solve it. Have no expectations. Maybe it will solve, maybe it don't. You will find out. And the last thing, what I also mentioned, is have no doubt in your mind that you can help. So if you approach someone and you're adopting the great listener mode without you knowing anything or have no expectations, just have no doubt in your body. And the thing is in your body, not in your mind, in your body, that you can help. Because that way your body have the intention to help. Whether you can help, yes or no, but have the confidence and no doubt in your whole body that you can help. And that is the best way to listen to someone. And listening is also about be able to provide value, or at least have access towards a person. So these are some very important things to be conscious about. So the third pillar is have confidence. So slowly we're starting to get a full circle. So the last pillar, the fourth pillar, is to put the mindset before action. So to adopt this mindset and to also help the other with the mindset, be aware of the next upcoming things. So rely more on the sensitivity than on the intellect. So not the thoughts or the things that you objectively see, but also the things that you feel, your intuition, your senses, like the tingling feeling, just like the third pillar about when you enter a room or when you're talking with someone, that you feel like, oh, I feel like there's a little bit of tension, or I feel like you are very eager to move on or to be enthusiastic, that you're really happy about this choice, is that correct, etc. So be more in tune with your sensitivity than with your intellect, what you think, what you try to think to know, because all words literally are simplifications of types of context. Because how do I mean this? So if you look at the chair, we call it a chair, but if I pull up a chair from another room or at the back of the room, that is also a chair. We all call it chair, but the context, the color, etc. is not the same. So the words make everything a little bit or a lot simplistic to understand and to communicate with one another. But senses, they take in more the broad context and they try to make sense of it all, even though we cannot always put the words in it, how we feel or how we would describe something. Just like dreams, like you see the full vivid world, but if you try to explain it, like blah, you only can remember maybe 3 things because it's too complex to put in words exactly of what you saw, etc. So putting care in action is useless if the mindset is not adopted. So if that other person doesn't feel right inside his body, doesn't feel ready, it is very useless to put him into action to try to solve something. So if, let's say, a player is struggling with mechanical plays or strategy or communicating, even though he understands that he should communicate more or should practice a certain mechanical pattern or anything else to improve his gameplay, but if he mentally isn't ready to do that, even though he says he is ready, then it's useless because he's not ready, like physically. It's not only about the head, it's not only about intellectual, it's about senses. Feeling okay with the situation, accepting it as it is, and being in the moment with the right intention. If you feel that, like, yes, that person, and you can like ask about the person, like how he's feeling and if he's ready for it. Sometimes you need to have a little bit of time to let it sink in, and it's something to harder to explain because it's not intellectual, it's more sensitive. So use your intuition and feeling and really stay connected. So if you did, let's say, the first 3 pillars correct, or you adopt those mindsets and those thoughts and you are aware of it all, then it's much more easier to focus on your senses than on your intellect as well. So that is an important thing. So if you're really a great listener towards the individual or group that is in front of you, and then be focused on the individual and not the problem or the words or the message that the person is saying. Look at the person as a whole and make connection with the person first, right? So don't interpret their words. Don't try to judge it, what they are saying, or nitpick. It's not a debate of who is wrong and who is right. If you are a great listener and you really want to help someone, you're always looking for what is right, but you don't know. You don't know what is right. You don't need expectations. You shouldn't have expectations. It is right? I don't know. You never know. It's also just like the rest of this video. So if you're watching this right now, be like, oh, this is a lot of taking. Yes, it's a mindset you have to adapt, and perhaps you need to look at it a couple of times, or just comment below with if you can give a lot more examples, etc. But if you stick through this video, you probably has a slight grasp at least of what is meant with this and how you can adopt yourself in order to be open towards the individual and not the things and the message and the problem, what they are saying. It's not that. It's the person that you want to connect with, not his message. So the third one is to have confidence in the fact that behind the appearance of the problem, the unconscious project is a noble project. So that means in the third pillar, that was more so, okay, if there's a problem, there's a reason for it, and that reason is oftentimes unconscious, and because it's unconscious, it is there also for a reason. It's not, let's say, negative or toxic in the basic core of it. Maybe it comes out as toxic behavior or communication way, but it happens for a reason deep inside. Why is a person or is a mechanism built in that way inside the person's mind? There has to be a reason towards it. And to go deep down, and even though you see it, whether that's positive or negative, there is an unconscious project going on, let's say the reason, and that is a noble project. Because you want to frame it as, yes, this is something that is probably useful for this person for some reason through the unconscious. From the outside is total garbage or useless, like toxic behavior. Why do people do that? Because they sort of consciously or intellectually understand like, oh, it's not making the environment happy. It's not making my teammates happy. It's not, it's only putting pressure on others and my win rate is going down. They understand it intellectually, but not sensitively. Like they don't know the unconscious way why they got that mechanism. What is the deeper reason? And that deeper reason is about a noble project. It could be that something happened, let's say, when they first pick up the game and they didn't learn how to cope with certain behavior, or they played with a friend, not even, let's say, online, but just like with a friend on a PlayStation or an Xbox, and the only way to move that person was to, let's say, or to laugh or to have fun, was to have a toxic, let's say, communication, even though it wasn't negative at that point, but it evolved from that point because maybe unconsciously the body intelligence learned that, oh, this is the way I should communicate, or this is how I can get results, and then it evolved and used it a lot of times. So it worked at that moment in time, but not anymore in this more professional or semi-pro or whatever league you are playing esports in right now. So this is just one example what could possibly be. We don't know, we don't care. We need to just explore it and go through it and assume and accept that it is a noble project, right? So have no judgment and just go through it and really help. Have no doubt in your mind that you can help this person that is in front of you, that you are connecting with and you're listening to. So one more time about, if you think you know, you don't know how to think. So to be a great listener is to be so open, be full of love, don't be affected, let it come close to you so you can see it, so you can observe it and really connect with the person that's in front of you, that how he expresses it. Be sure to understand where you are as a person. Don't judge, be open, and know that problems have a good reason. It doesn't mean that there should be a logical or intellectual reason for it, but for that person that has that problem, it's his and not yours, and that there is a noble, let's say, project behind it for everyone to understand and to resolve and to let it go, because we all want to improve, we all want to get better. I have never met someone like, oh, I want to get worse at this. Like, oh, I don't know anyone who says that. So everyone has sort of or unconsciously good intentions, but on the surface, how we express ourselves can be different. And we have to go deep down into the person, connect with them, being a great listener, know where we are in order to get there, to really get that potential. Because potential is always in the unconscious, to connect everything what we know with ourselves and with our surroundings. And if we can get the potential and the unconscious, let's say, towards the conscious, then that is where the magic happens. And that goes through being a great listener. So that is it for now. The 4 pillars to become a great listener. So if you got any questions, comment down below. And that is it, guys, for this video. I hope it was clear. If not, I'll be sure to answer your questions in the comments below, or click the Discord link in order to go to the Next Level Esports Discord, and you can ask all your questions there, as well as free content, free events, and everything else under the horizon that gives you all the tools and wants and needs in order to succeed as an individual, as an esports coach, and as a team as well. So if you liked this video and you watched it and stayed till the end, thank you so much for watching, and smash that like button. Thank you so much. And if you loved this type of content, then really would appreciate it if you smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell, so I'll be the first one to update you with new notification and new types of content to help you and your team reach that next level by getting the people side of esports right. So thank you so much again for watching, and see you guys next time. Bye bye.